Hmm. Hi, everybody. I am back. So, I got some comments today, or when I woke up, I had checked my email and I got these comments on one of my videos that just blew my mind, blew my mind. Um, and it kind of brought me back to like the mindset I used to carry with me when I was identifying with and promoting the feminist agenda. And I know that's a very broad agenda and there's different variations, but at the end of the day, a lot of it amounts to the same thing. And it's so hard for me now to like engage with people who think and see things that way because I don't. And it's literally painful for me because it's like staring into a mirror. And then I also have to contend with the fact that I myself was promoting this kind of thing. And that for me is very difficult because, the fruit of my labor is that I've, in some ways, sowed into the world more of this chaos and misery, and now I have to like look at it and contend with it, and when it comes up in my face, it's hard because I don't know if it's like guilt that I have or shame. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it, but I also feel bad. I read this stuff and I read how miserable people are and they don't even like recognize it in themselves and the things that they say and the kind of heaviness of what they're carrying, and it's like there's so much baggage I think that a lot of the time women specifically carry that they're not even aware of, and they wonder why like life seems so heavy, and they wonder why they're so drained and so angry and so miserable, and it's like, well, you're carrying around so much that doesn't even belong to you or serve you, and you're not even able to be in the moment and experience things that are good. It's That's the thing about feminism. It's one of these identities that you can put on, and really what it does is it narrows your world so that because you're only seeing things in this very limited way, that you're not actually able to, experience all the good that is actually around you. I think that happens so often, and this is, the longer women are in this, the more miserable they get. And this isn't everyone I've dealt with, but a lot of them, especially like the women I've known who were like doing this for decades upon decades, like a lot of them are just so embattled, embattled and embittered. So anyway, I thought I would, read through these comments and just kind of give my own response, because I don't know. It's like not often that I'm like inspired by my comments section to make videos, but like these ones were just, to me, it was so clear. Reading it, I was like, man, hi Lisa, how you doing? Interested to hear your thoughts on this subject. It's quite a title, isn't it? You know, I have so many thoughts. But anyway, let's kind of share here and talk about what was written. Uh, Looks like she left some more comments. Wow, she left a lot. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, present. Okay, so yeah, this woman left like 4 comments. First one she says here is, I split the bill. Not comfortable with a dude paying for me. Also not comfortable with dudes who earn way more than me. Not interested in someone who has more power than me. This is my video, Men Always Pay on Dates. Now, I was a bit cheeky in this video, and I want to be clear that like some of what I suggested in that video was meant to be inflammatory, like to make a point. I'd say if you're in a situation where you are on a date with a man and he wants to split the bill, like, I think the best choice of action is just to not see him again. Don't, lose his contact information. If he tries to contact you, ghost him, or just don't interact, or tell him you're not interested, because like that is just. But anyway, there's like a flawed thinking here. So she splits the bill because she's not comfortable with a dude paying for her. But he's not paying for you. He's compensating you for your time and your company. That's not the same thing. And then, he's paying for your food. And the thing about this is too, that's just, if we acknowledge that the society we live in is a patriarchal one, where men, do dominate, they have control over resources in ways that women do not, they have greater access. There's no such thing as someone engaging with a man and him not having more power than you. Him paying is a way to negate that. Him taking the lead and paying for you is a way of compensating you for that. If he does have more power, which is the case, like, he should be paying. He should be in some way making up the difference. If he has a greater earning power than you as a man, which they do, just by the nature of how they are built. I'm not saying this because there are women out here in this world killing it, and there are men that are like just dropped out, obviously, but we're not talking about these circumstances. We're just talking about normal, regular people. The reality is 9 times out of 10, he's going to have more power than you just by virtue of that dynamic. Also, like the physical dynamic. Let's just be real here. They have more power. You deserve, as a female, to be compensated for your time, which is more valuable, and for your company. So to me, it's just, you in this circumstance, when you split the bill, what you're in effect doing is taking your own power away from the situation. The one power you have as a woman in the situation is that you are the more delicate party. You are the more, fragile party. You're the one that does need to be taken care of. Your money is more valuable because you have to work harder to get it, just by virtue of the way you are made. So it doesn't make sense to me that a woman, would spend her own money on a date. It doesn't compute. If you do accept the general feminist framework that the world is patriarchal, right, then it makes sense that because of that power difference, that women should not be paying to be in the company of a man. A man, therefore, who has more power should therefore be taking the lead in that. I think that makes sense. I think, breaking that down, it makes sense. But anyway, that comment, I had quite a few women leaving similar comments on that video and getting really weird, but let's continue. She left quite a few. This next comment, she's got swearing. This comment is what really sent me over. She says, when I was dating, I never put on makeup. It's better that they see you without makeup at the very beginning, not because they see how you really look, but because he sees you don't care about performing this kind of femininity for him. And so he also sees you won't cater to him on this or several other ways. Okay, so let's just stop right there. For one, whether you choose to wear makeup or not is your concern. Your femininity as a woman is your business, in my opinion, right? Your femininity is going to come through regardless because you are a woman. But, as a woman, as a feminine creature, I wear makeup. This is something that I didn't do for a long time, and I have taken up again because, you know what, I enjoy it. It's my damn life. And I don't even interact with males on a daily basis. My day-to-day life, I'm the main person I'm interacting with. I don't interact with anyone else, but I still do it because it's not for him, it's for me. Now, they may enjoy it, and I know a lot of them do, and they think it's for them, and they can think whatever they like. All right, I don't care because, again, I live for me, not for others. I mean, that's a very selfish thing to say anyway. But this idea, like, I won't cater to him on this or any other way, it's like, well, why are you dating in the first place if you're not seeking to cater to someone else? There's this like very backwards thinking here at the beginning, of this comment. Like, if you are dating, I don't know what your purpose is for dating if you're not seeking to have a relationship, which would entail catering to the other person, them catering to you, and you catering to them. You doing things to make them happy, them doing things to make you happy, you serving them serving you. That is the ultimate purpose of being in a relationship. And, ideally, like when we talk about, dating, it should eventually be with the idea to marry, right? So what is that if not service, if not catering? We have this totally like skewed worldview at this like time, and this selfishness that people just accept. It's like, you can't be in a relationship, you can't be married, you can't be dating with this mindset that you're not there to serve others. If that is if that's how you see it, like, even friendships are about service. Relationships are about service. They are about catering too. They're about taking what you have to give and sharing. If you don't want to share yourself, if you don't want to give, if you don't want to cater to, like, why are you dating? That's just that to me, it was like, okay, what the heck? Like, I'm not going to cater to you. I'm like, well, you sound fun. You sound like, nice. I mean, it was like, that was my response when I like read it this morning, because, checking my email as I'm getting up, having my coffee, I was like, my response was just like, wow, you sound nice. Because that's not nice. It isn't nice. Okay, let me have more comments. Weird Beatnik is here, shout out. And Ethereal_land is here, says that feminism made me crazy. Yeah, me too, honey, me too. Oh, did it make me crazy? Gave me a twitch and everything. I agree in many ways. As a guy, I try not to be patriarchal, which I know that's hard because it's in my nature, but I really try hard not to be. It's natural. Don't just try to be responsible and do the best you can. Like, don't, you're not going to undo nature. All right? You can't undo what your nature is. The more you try to fight against it, the worse the situation is going to be. So just try to take that masculinity that is natural to you and be the best you can with it. Look for healthy examples of masculinity. There are ways to be masculine and to be, a patriarch that are healthy. That that in and of itself, it's a beautiful thing when men are, responsible and hardworking and giving and, leaders. That's a good thing. We should encourage that more. I think a lot of men are in crisis in our society now because they aren't being led to be that way, and they're being kind of like mind effed into thinking that there's something wrong with that. There isn't. It's a good thing when people meet that standard, and people try to reach that standard, and they apply themselves to that standard. It's actually a good thing. So don't beat yourself up about that. Like, men and women are ultimately different. If you're a man, you're a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman, and you're going to have a different nature. And the reality is we have to somehow figure out as a society, as a world, how to complement those natures best, because they do complement one another at the end of the day. The way women are is in complement to the way men are, and vice versa. We make up for our differences. Okay, let's move on. But yeah, I was never attracted to men with more money than me because I'm not attracted to men with more power than me. Well, I mean, see, that's just weird. To me, it's so weird because oh man, there's nothing more draining than dealing with a man who makes you be the powerful one all the time. It's like, there's nothing more draining. You know what I mean? For any women watching, you know what I mean. It is so draining to have to be the woman that is in that powerful position, ultimately because it's not even real. That's we'll get into that. That's a whole other video. And then she goes on with a lot of swearing. I'm not going to effing smile while he effing pays for anything. He won't pay for me. I won't smile for him. Because F masculinity and femininity. Guess what? You can find a partner who's actually not masculine, nor domineering as a woman who's not feminine nor submissive. You need to be really hardcore on your filtering selection methods, though, and going for men with way more money than you have is not one of them. I don't men's earning capacity in a patriarchal society is much greater than women's. If he has not earned more than you as a woman, I would feel like he's not meeting his potential. And I mean, it's just a completely different mindset. I know there are women out there that want to push guys around. They want a wimpy little partner they can push around. But that to me, I want at the end of the day to be with someone that I respect, And this kind of comment to me is just I know so many feminists who see things this way. I've had this. The reason this was so triggering for me was because I've had this conversation with women before about their unicorn man who's really just a submissive beta man who wants to be led by a woman. And you know what? If that is your personality type, if you're more domineering as a woman, that is fine. But I still think the beta male should be paying. And usually they do. Honestly, beta men tend to be good providers, generally speaking. It's not really even about that. I don't even get into this alpha beta conversation too much because it's not really about that. Hi, baby. Hi. Nero has to make his He got to make his appearance. You want up here? Look at all this fine lap. It could be yours. This comment is like, I'm not going to effing smile and effing like an F masculinity and F femininity. Like, if that's the way you feel, okay. But like, I don't think there's anything you can pretend that these things don't exist, but they do. Gender exists on all planes. Don't it? You know, every man and woman has masculine and feminine traits. And some women are more masculine than others. Some men are more feminine than others. But at the end of the day, these things they're real. They're things that we have to contend with. You know, maybe you'll find another guy, you know, a guy out there who's been like totally whipped by this messaging and he's liberal. But I just feel like, you know, how do you respect a man like that? Like, how do you honestly, and this to me, it just indicates no respect. I'm not going to effing smile, you know, while you pay, like there's nothing wrong with it. Like the language is just like implying there's something wrong with people being happy at the end of the day. And this is the thing. And feminism makes you crazy. Feminism makes people miserable. It makes women miserable. It really does. It really does, because you think it's like a burden. It makes you so mind controlled and mind effed up that you think it's somehow a burden to smile, to be carefree, to, you know, to let somebody else lead and like provide for you. It like makes you think that there's something wrong with that. And it makes you think that there's something wrong with like catering to someone else. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, we're here to serve one another ultimately. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, feminism will have you out here thinking that serving and being like smiling and being, you know, feminine are just gonna hurt you. And a lot of it is just about like, you know, again, a lot of women, I think, get sucked into feminism. Oh, did that dog, you hear that dog? We don't like that dog. We don't like that dog. A lot of women get sucked into feminism and this kind of worldview, women and men, because of trauma. We'll be real, like they go through negative experiences and they want to avoid that. And so how they compensate for that is that they just decide that they're never going to let themselves be vulnerable again. And, you know, how they do that is they split the bill, you know, they never let a man, you know, provide or lead or do anything like that, because they ultimately don't trust him. And I'm like, if you're going to have, you know, a long-term relationship, a marriage, what have you, that's not going to work. You have to be able to respect and trust your partner. And as a woman, you also need to like let men make up for the patriarchy, I feel, by like letting them lead, let them, you know, provide, let them do for you, let them serve you how they can. You know, women do the bulk of domestic labor. That is a natural division of labor because we nest with babies. Just generally speaking, you know, we make homes. That work takes us out of the public sphere. You know, it takes more out of us. How do men compensate for that? Well, they earn more. They work harder so they can provide, because, you know, these roles exist for a reason, and it's not, to keep women down. It's actually to help lift us both up, you know? And this is the thing, like a man who's relying on a woman to pay half of his bills, to pay half of his bills is never going to reach his full potential. He's never going to become what he could be if he were, acting in the world in a masculine way, if he were taking on that responsibility. And it's a shame, it stunts both women and men, and women can't really reach our full potential either, because we end up spreading ourselves too thin. We end up taking on too much burden. We end up becoming worn out by working outside and inside the home, taking on way too much. Why don't we just chill out, That's the thing, there's no chill with feminism. There is no chill. It's like everything is just like war and battle and power and, the natural dance of a relationship, even getting into this part of the comment, really hardcore on your filtering and selection methods. I mean, you should be that way with any relationship, but and there's this comment, and also don't expect a dude to pay for you because you groomed yourself more than he did. Choose men who groom themselves properly and care about their own presentation the same way that you do. Again, this is her preference, right? This is not my preference. I don't want to be with a man as groomed as me. That's disturbing to me. All right? I'm the pretty one. At the end of the day, why why would you want to be why would you? Femininity is, it's a feminine art. And I understand, like I said, there are feminine men out there are masculine women out there. If that vibe works for you, okay. I don't think it works for the majority of women, and you see that it doesn't work because those relationships usually end in disaster, and she doesn't respect him, and he's resentful and bitter, like a woman. I think grooming is one thing. Grooming is one thing, but femininity is another thing on top of it. Anyway, but those comments just to me were disturbing. It's upsetting. It really is upsetting to see the mindset and to be confronted with it of, I don't want to cater to, I don't want to smile for, I don't want to trust, I don't want to respect, I don't want to allow, I don't want a man to have power. I don't want him to have more power than me. And ultimately, what is that about? The only reason a woman doesn't want a man to have more power than her is that she does not trust him with that power. And if you do not trust someone with that power, should you even be with them? And I agree with being hardcore about your dating and selection, your preferences, all that. But the other thing is people lie. People lie. And what I've found? Liberal men who are into all this feminism stuff and identify with these ideas tend to be big liars, because they're generally not developed in their own masculinity. And as such, they're expecting you as a woman to compensate for their lack of natural masculinity. And again, most women put in that position, even if you are naturally like more of a leader, hardworking, outwardly focused, career driven as a woman, eventually you're going to get really drained dealing with that, because your natural role when you're engaging with a man is to be feminine. And I just don't see it. It don't work long term. Now, submissiveness, that kind of thing, who is the more dominant partner? There's a lot of relationships where the female, I'm talking about heterosexual relationships, just to be clear, but there's so many where the female is the more dominant partner. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se. She sets the tone of things. I think generally women do set the tone of things because of the nature of relationships and, what femininity entails. I'm going to take a sip of my sparkling water, y'all. Hold up. I think that's natural, but man, the world is really effing grim, and so many people are carrying around all this baggage. And they never think to just like let it down, put it down, unpack it, maybe figure out that they don't need to carry that much, or maybe, that needs to be left, maybe you need to donate it to the charity shop, whatever. It does not serve us as human beings to walk into relationships, dating, friendships with this attitude of, I need to, with this attitude that you cannot be carefree. That's ultimately what it was about to me, because like, especially like early on stages of dating, you should be like having fun. You should be carefree. You should be, getting to know someone. You shouldn't be walking into it with all of this fear and anxiety and worry about what this person is going to do. Like, and I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that are looking to harm you, because I've met a few of them in my, in my time on this earth, people who have no business. I said it recently. I was having a conversation with some women, and I was like, I've had, many people fall in love with me who had no business doing so, and it's not because of they were really in love with me. They were in love with what they wanted me to be. So, I think when you look a certain way and you project a certain kind of energy in the world, people project a lot onto that, and it just it happens. But anyway, this is why we have to like be carefree, move slowly, get to know people, only entertain people that are, in your network, vet people, that kind of thing. Make sure that they know people, because otherwise, we're going to be in the situation of not respecting and not being respected, which is ultimately what it's about. Like, if you don't feel that you can, I mean, yeah, for me, I was reading those comments, I was just like, why are you even dating a man? Because it doesn't sound like you like men. It doesn't sound like you want to be around them. It sounds like you're afraid of them and what they're going to do to you if they have a little power over you, which they do anyway, just by virtue of being a man in a patriarchal society. Hello. But you're not going to allow them to use that power to serve you. And you're not going to cater to them in any way either. It's like, well, why be in a relationship, period, if you're not wanting to be nice, wanting to cater to someone, wanting to love them, wanting to serve them? I don't understand what the mentality is. What is the mentality? That's what a relationship is, whether it be friendship, whether it be, a romantic encounter, like relationship, like you are ultimately there to serve. And I think that kind of has been another thing about feminism that's like, again, made us crazy, because we think that there's something wrong with women catering to and serving the man in their life, their husband, their kids. It's like, no, that's what that relationship is. And if you don't want to do that, that's so valid. Okay, well then don't seek to get into relationships. Don't seek to get married. Don't seek to have kids. Because if you're going to be selfish your whole life, there's no point. That at some point you have to recognize that relationships are about service. And if you don't want to, do that, then you're not going to have them. And then you have to find some other, thing to fill your life. Weird Beatnik mentioned internet dating has ruined dating, in your opinion. I mean, I think, I don't think dating from internet dating is a good thing. Now, let's see. I know I did a video about this a while back about online dating and dating apps and how I feel about them, which is, that they really are not worthwhile. Now, I haven't used dating apps, but I did use OkCupid in the past. And my experience with it wasn't good. Most people don't even read what you write about yourself. They're not interested in that. It's really about are you semi-attractive to them and are you available? And I went out with a few women from that particular site, and none of the women I met on there were worth dating. And then I've also met some romantic relationships from social media, and those were, I think, even worse, honestly, than getting paired up with a random stranger. Because, you think that, oh, you have these things in common, therefore, and then that's the other thing, feminism to me gave me such a scarcity mindset about dating. And that really, having a scarcity mindset when it comes to dating, romance, relationships, not good. Not good. If you are going into it with the mentality that there's so few, that you have such a small pool of people that are going to be compatible with you, that's really going to screw you, because you're going to end up dating and forming relationships with people that really might not be good for you. And you're going to cling to relationships that aren't good for you. because you think, oh, well, where am I going to find somebody else who thinks this way or looks that way? Or you're going to get put in a relationship with someone who, is exploiting you, looking to take advantage of you. I mean, that happened a couple of times with that, people, using my politics, the feminist, crazy feminist politics I had to gain access to me, pretending that they had them as well. And then like getting me into a all hung up on them, getting me into a relationship. And then bam, it was like, no, psych, I didn't mean it. And, I overrode a lot of like red flags because of that scarcity mindset. And I was like thinking in my mind, I'm like, well, how many am I going to find, that are actually compatible with me? Because I think like a crazy person. Of course, I wasn't, again, taking personal responsibility to understand that my thinking, my mentality was screwed up, was wrong. So yeah, feminism will mess you up. It will make you crazy, and it will have you out here miserable. It will have you out here so miserable because you're fighting against nature, you're fighting against your own nature, and you're suspicious and you're not giving. I mean, let's go back to the comments I read before. Did those comments seem to be like about giving? There's a lack of generosity. Like, you will not have power over me. I will not smile while you do something nice for me, while you cater to me. You will not cater to me. I will not cater to you. There. I'm like, oh God, what is the point of this? What kind of relationship are you going to end up in if that's your mentality? I'm like, oh, well, you can find someone that, why? What? I don't want that. Does not sound appealing to me. I want somebody who, is generous with me and gives to me, and who I likewise in turn can smile at and be happy with. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Crazy. Crazy. Seth is here. Shout out to Seth. JB says, we need more likes. I know. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe, comment, donate. All the things, because we're talking about real stuff here. So yeah, I was talking about scarcity mindset. Okay. Like, and this is the same, like, regardless, if you're a weirdo with extreme beliefs who feels like you're on the margins of society, you're going to really be coming up against a lot of these limiting beliefs, and the scarcity mindset where you're like, there's only a small number of people that could ever possibly meet these criteria. Very dangerous. Limiting belief, like you're setting yourself up for failure. Oh, Weird Beatnik is leaving. You have a good day too, honey. Thanks for being here. Brittany B. What is going on in that picture? What the? Looks like a piece of chicken getting thrown. I don't know. Yeah, I'm friends with Leah. Leah on this channel. I've done videos with her before. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing too about feminism. Obviously I was a radical feminist for many years, but like regular feminism isn't that much better. Sometimes crazy beliefs are mainstreams and people reject you for being lucid. I mean, that is true. That is true. And it's fine, if people reject you because of your beliefs, that is fine. But you do not want to have the mentality that because you view the world a different way, that, you're limited in some way. Because you're really not. And I think too, like, what is mainstream? I've never identified with like the mainstream. So obviously I call myself Terri Strange. That entails a feeling of being set aside, different, not usual. I've never, been a mainstream normie kind of person. I've always been interested in choosing the margins and looking to not be part of the crowd, because the crowd is usually dumb. So yeah, like feminist beliefs have become very mainstream, not like the most radical ones, but a lot of these beliefs about like splitting, things 50-50, and, uh, even if that doesn't equate, even if it's not the most rational thing to do, the idea that like women should work throughout, the child rearing years, and, men, should not be providers, that women should, provide, is this, that these kind of things are pretty normal beliefs, in the mainstream, but like they, there are problems with it, and then there's, the celebrity feminism. I did the video talking about Barbenheimer, and I really railed against Barbie, the Barbie movie, because like it teaches that there was so much in that movie that was like complaining about things that don't matter, that aren't real issues, that don't pertain to like what women actually need in order to live their best lives, but like whining about the way we are perceived, and the fact that like it just, again, like a lot of women believe that stuff though. They get like this feeling of victimization that they carry around with them throughout their life, because they choose to believe these things. And this is like mainstream normal people, believe these things. Or, then there's like the cultural things around, hookup culture. Third wave feminism has had a lot to do with that. The idea that women should be quote unquote sexually liberated. That comes from second wave and third wave feminism as well. Like women being and acting promiscuous like men do. It's not, or we'll say like men are more prone to, let's say, because like obviously not all men are promiscuous, but that kind of laxing of the social restraints that women had before due to the prevalence of birth control options for women, that's had a negative effect as well. So, but a lot of people are cool with that. Most people, when I talk to like a lot of people about maybe being critical of pornographic things in the culture, when I, complain about, promiscuity and the prevalence of hookup culture and just, kind of the lax attitudes about sex, a lot of the times I'm met with that kind of third wave feminist nonsense about like, well, some women like it, some women choose it. Started this channel talking about, pornography as an issue pretty strongly. How often was the kickback like, oh, women like to make porn, women, like to watch it too, therefore there's no problem. And well, I know that's silly, but again, these are mainstream beliefs, and a lot of it does come from certain strains of feminism. So like I identified as a radical feminist. It made me crazy in certain ways. But all the different branches of feminism out there will make you crazy because, a lot of it is about pushing you to act outside of your nature as a woman. And when we're, being persuaded and groomed into going against our nature and our interest, because regardless of our nature, different human beings will have different natures. However, what is in our interest? It's not even just about your nature, it's about what's best for you, what is going to serve you ultimately in terms of like the way you conduct yourself and manage your affairs in life, and how you engage with members of the opposite sex, and how you date, and how you form relationships. Like, a lot of this stuff really just goes against women's interests, ultimately. Y'all been commenting, oh my goodness. Zucchini Noodles is here with a lovely drawing of a pink flamingo. Very nice. JB said I was cool with feminism and went to book events, etc. But the women's marches after Trump 2016 win poisoned feminism. Ideas of women, equal rights, and mutual respect. It seemed more like women complaining about Hillary lost. About Hillary's loss. Yeah, and kind of the complaining about, Donald Trump, and a lot of it was just contrived. And then, of course, the Me Too movement, which could have been a unifying moment, but then again became about cancel culture and getting certain men. A lot of it's about revenge. It's not about equality or about respect or fairness or justice. A lot of it is about just revenge, and count me out, That's not the feminism. Well, I don't even identify with it anymore, but that's not what I'm about. I believe in justice, not revenge. Okay. And like, sometimes justice means, we have to forgive and heal and, not react to everything that triggers our, feelings of trauma or victimization, which is what a lot of it did, like with the Trump comments about, I don't even want to get into those comments because honestly, like, that's just how men talk. And it's not like he did anything with that, but and a lot of it was just about partisan agendas, like I don't follow or care for, anything that's about tailing after the Democratic Party, and taking all this anger and fury about the situation that we find ourselves in the world and funneling it into the Democratic Party is so yuck. Oh, then JB brings up the attacks by feminists on J.K. Rowling because she stated biological facts. I mean, yeah, and now with the women's marches, like, so like the pink pussy hats, with the little cat ears. I thought those were cute. They were cute. They were a unifying thing, They made sense. They were, in response to something. But the women's marches that continued afterwards became very much like, I attended one with Leah. Somebody brought up my friend Leah. We attended with, I actually volunteered for Now at a women's march. I think it was 2018 or 20, yeah, it was 2018. So I volunteered to sit at the Now table while the march was happening because I wasn't going to do the march, but I agreed to sit at the table for the local chapter of Now. And I collected some donations for them, got people signed up to their, lists and that kind of thing, and, invited them to the next event they were having because, I was about that life. But yeah, that there was during the lead up, the rally to the march, there weren't many women wearing the pink hats anymore, but they were discouraged from wearing the hats because, and this is what the people on the speaker said, not every woman has, female genitalia, essentially. So the hats were deemed transphobic and they were deemed racist because not every woman's genitals are pink. The pink color was about women in general. It wasn't, meant to evoke the color of genitalia. All right. Pink has been traditionally associated with women and girls for a long time. So that's why pink was chosen. It's also a very bright color. So that was nonsense. And then the reason that the pussy hat even came about was because that was the word that Donald Trump used, right? He said, grab them by the what? The P word. Grab them by the P word. Didn't he? All right. So that's why they were called pussy hats. And the woman who designed them was, in fact, a woman of color. The woman who came up with the idea. But that's how crazy and obsessed with being woke these nut jobs are. And they're miserable because of it. Like, they can't even have a unifying image at their marches anymore. Like, it was iconic. Okay, we'll just say that. It was an iconic moment. Whether you agree with those marches or not, we can agree that the pink hats, the pink kitty ear hats, were iconic. They made a statement. They were unifying. But these people are so miserable and obsessed with their political purity that they can't even allow anything unifying to happen ever. They eat themselves. And that's ultimately, too, what it's about. A lot of this extreme, feminism, intersectional feminism, is about basically just dissolving into chaos because it's ultimately always going to be critical about anything that's happening ever. And when you're that critical, you can't really get things done. A-Chan. Hello, kitty. A-Chan agrees that men should not be promiscuous either. Exactly. No, it's not good for either sex. It leads to problems for both sexes. I think in men's nature, it is more understandable that they are that way, but it does not serve them ultimately to be. And, there's all this talk nowadays about women's body counts. Like, as a woman, if a man asks you your body count, first off, don't answer, because that's, what is he? I mean, I think, getting into that, if you are getting into a serious relationship where you may be, getting sexual with someone, it might be good to discuss certain things like your history, like your status, that kind of thing, what have you. But I see like all these videos where like these random men standing on street corners are going up to women and asking them their body counts. Don't answer. Like, they're the only people who should have that kind of information about you, or ask you any questions like that, like when were you last engaged in a sexual relationship. The only people you should share that information with are people that you are intimate with. There's no reason why a stranger should be asking that, and it's highly disrespectful. It's highly disrespectful. And this is one of the ways that men degrade women, just generally. Like, you don't have to answer. Just because somebody asks you a question does not mean you need to answer. But, we talk about that, the whole thing about body counts. Like, a man with one that is really high is as much as a red flag as a woman with one. Okay, if somebody has a extremely high body count, red flag. Okay, red flag. Like, why is it that high? What's going on? Again, not said to be judgmental, but the higher it is, the more likely something is wrong. The more likely, there's an issue, and the more likely you are to have problems too in having a relationship with someone, because it's not good. It's not good for men or women. It's destructive. Sexual immorality is destructive. People don't want to hear it, but it is. It's destructive to you. It's destructive to relationships that you're in and that you may be in. It's destructive to society generally. There is a reason why it is discouraged. And it's not because of purity, and it's not because of, there are religious arguments for it, obviously, but it doesn't have to come down to it. It's just destructive. So JB brings up the Me Too movement. Yeah, certain people were targeted by the Me Too thing, but we don't see there's many, philanderers and, sexual abusers and rapists, like old Mr. William Clinton, who continue to be free. He's too big to go after. You go after the comedian who didn't even, that's the thing with a lot of it too. A lot of these things that have come forward, and people I've seen who've been, kind of Me Too'd, weren't even doing anything that could be considered non-consensual. Maybe things that were, I would say things that were wrong, maybe things that were abuses of their position, for sure. But women have traded sexual favors for, advancement since the dawn of time. And, is it wrong? Yeah, probably. But is it the same thing as, actual abuse, actual violence? And I've seen that a lot too with it. It became a political tool of cancellation instead of a movement toward justice and healing, because how many women did you see that you knew? I saw all these women that I knew, that I had worked with over the years on Facebook, coming forward with their Me Too. And I'm just I'm sitting here God, this, it's so prevalent that women have experienced stuff like this, but no, these women weren't naming the guy generally. And if they did name the guy, then that usually didn't go well for them. So it's just, it was a mess. I had a lot of friends go to Women's March, and they took lots of selfies and held Trump signs. Uh, I mean, yeah, that sounds like some trolling, but, what the partisan Democrats did to RCP, Sarah Taylor movement for direct action against the abortion ban was also despicable. I mean, yeah, it's because, again, this has to be in their control. They have to be in control of it. And if some independent group or party is taking the lead and organizing anything, then, it has to be firmly in the control of the Democratic Party machine. And if it isn't, then they will find some way to undermine or take over or, slander. Chan thinks it's gross to ask strangers about a body count. It is gross. Like, and a lot of time it's like very young women, college age, getting approached and asked by some like idiot with a podcast, or like going on these like red pill podcasts, and there's no good way to answer that question as a woman, and that there's no good way to talk about. These are things that are intimate. They should not be talked about publicly. You should not be sharing details of your intimate life in that way, especially as a woman, because it just devalues you. There's no way to make that work in your favor. It's just always going to devalue you. So it's just not a good idea. JB is clarifying that his friends were not trolling, that they were actually legitimately at the Women's March with their anti-Trump signs, being California liberals, taking selfies. It was a selfie moment. And you know what? I had overheard people talking about the Women's March in Portland, which was like one of the biggest in the country, like just the whole, like they filled, I don't remember how many came, but like it was massive. Like it was a moment, like they really mobilized it. I don't know, in a way it was like, it was inspiring too, because, I had worked with the Korean women's movement, and met some of them and learned from them, and kind of talked with quite a few of them some years ago, and they were inspired by the women's marches. Like it was really big. We negate, we kind of like make fun of it now, but it was a massive moment. And it did have reverberations, like the fact that it did inspire like the what is the word for it? I want to say drop the corset movement in Korea that came about. Like that it was big, and that was also big too. But the fact is, it had reverberations. In many countries, women's marches happened around the world in solidarity. Like it was huge. So I don't want to I kind of want to just, but anyway, it was huge. It was massive. There was so much energy around it, but it like wasn't focused anywhere. And so of course it became a vacuum and ate itself. But I overheard some men talking about it the day after it happened in Portland. And they were talking about like, it was a guy working at Starbucks, actually. So he was like talking to a customer, and the guy was like, oh, well, did you have to like take in any of the furniture or shut the store down? Because usually when there's a protest in Portland, the local businesses, especially like cafes and Starbucks, definitely have to take in their furniture, have to shut down early, have to board up because, they're likely to be targeted. And he just said, no, we didn't feel threatened at all. It's just women, And he wasn't saying that to be like sexist, and I don't think he was for saying it, but like to me, it was basically saying like this march was not threatening to capital, to business, to any of the powers that be at all. Like it did not in any way make anyone worried that there was going to be any destruction or chaos. And that to me, like I felt bad in my stomach because, I was a very hardcore feminist at the time. And when I heard that, I was like, ooh, women are not taken seriously. Like we're not seen as a threat to this system at all. Like this march was not considered. And I didn't attend. I'll say that I did not attend in 2016. I did not participate. The only one I went to was, I think, 2018, where I volunteered. And I didn't march either. So, because I couldn't, but What do I think of Louis C.K.? I mean, I think he kind of came to mind when I was talking about the, the people who got Me Too'd who maybe shouldn't have. Maybe it was taken out of context because from what I understand, and I don't know the full story, but from what I understand, he was in a position like that where some woman traded sexual favors with him for a position that her career didn't work out the way she wanted it to. Like, and I hate to say this, but like, again, there is a difference between doing something you regret and, actually being violated. Now you can feel violated, but it's just something you need to learn from. And I don't know, but I don't know the full story there. So I don't want to like say, oh, he's innocent, he's not. But I do think he was, from what I heard about the situation, he was one of those people that got Me Too'd, that maybe there's a siren going by. It's kind of weird midday. They usually seem to turn down another road. Okay, well, whatever. But yeah, like I never found him that funny, so I'll just say that. Cause yeah, he's got some jokes that I've seen that I don't find that funny. So as a comedian, like I don't really care, but flapjack batter. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. He didn't say grab them by the pee. He said they let you grab them by the pee. He didn't encourage anyone to do anything. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing about it too. And what he said, that's true. It's true. Unfortunately, it is true. And that's, women are attracted to power and prestige. And when you're famous, it's a lot easier to get women because women, and this isn't all women, obviously, but groupies are a thing. Okay. We all know it to be true. And groupies are a thing, but it applies to like most positions of fame. JB says, I thought about attending the Women's March, but in the San Francisco Bay Area, it seemed the vibe was licking Pelosi's boot. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was. that whole thing was a mess. The whole like Hillary, like I knew, okay, like I don't know about you all, and maybe we're getting off topic here, but the way the whole 2016 election farce, I don't know, like people don't like Hillary Clinton, okay? There is a great disdain for her for many reasons in this country, and a lot of them are valid. I don't like her. There are reasons I don't like her. I didn't like her, for a long time. But when she was Secretary of State, definitely that really led to me disliking her a lot. So, apart from anything, my feelings about her are what they are, but she's very disliked around the country. So the fact that she got the Democratic nomination was worrying in and of itself if they wanted to be, elected. Then, of course, Trump, like as soon as I saw he was in the running and the way the media was kind of reacting to it, like I knew he was going to win the election. I just knew it. I just felt it in my bones. I was like, he's going to win. It is what it is. Like the moment they underestimated him, like was the moment I knew he was going to win. And also, this is America. We love celebrities. Okay? We love celebrities. Americans want a celebrity for president. I know my people. I know my people, and that's what they want. Russell Brand has, I don't know, the Russell Brand thing too. And that's another thing, people and their feelings about Russell Brand. Like, I don't know, but again, I don't know. The thing that's irritated me with the Russell Brand cancellation that has happened recently is just, we're not even expecting women to provide evidence for their assertions now. And that's very worrying to me. Like, we're setting really dangerous precedents for society generally and justice generally if there's no evidence, if we are expecting that people should be prosecuted and without evidence. There was an article I saw in The Guardian, I wish I'd saved it, but like the title of it was insane. It was something like basically saying that it was wrong that, God, I wish I could remember the title now. The language was just so insidious, but like it was basically saying something like how it was wrong to expect his victims to provide any evidence for their, accusations. And it's like, well, I understand as a victim of something that may have happened many years ago that you would not have evidence and that you would still want to be believed. And I don't disbelieve. I'll say that, like with Russell Brand, like I've seen him grope women on TV, like sitting, on a panel. I've seen him grope women. I remember watching like an episode of Nevermind the Buzzcocks with Russell Brand on it. And he kind of like, he was touching one of the women on the panel, and the actual like host of the show, Simon Amstel, like kind of stopped things. And he was like, he had to check in with her and be like, are you okay? Like, so I have no doubt he's like past and that he's groped many women and done many inappropriate things. Like, I have no doubt about that. But then at the same time, like, you cannot expect a guy to, you can't expect in a just world for someone to just lose their platform and face possible prosecution when you don't have any evidence to provide. You know what I mean? Like that's all. So again, but so many people just, rush immediately, like I believe women, believe the victim. And like, I, tend to be that way as well, because I know how commonplace sexual assault is and R word is and all of that. Like I know how prevalent it is. I know how many women don't ever come forward. I know most women I know have experienced it to some degree or other of being imposed upon in that way by a man. It's very common. I totally, want to believe every time a woman says it, but like that's dangerous too. Like if we always just default to that and there's no like nothing to balance that, like we're in a precarious situation then. If the default is just to believe without evidence, as a society as a whole, if there's no check and balance, that can go really bad. That could go very bad. So, I don't know, with Russell Brand, like, I have very mixed feelings about that whole situation with him. I'll just say that, like, and obviously, I like a lot of what he's done with his platform and how he seems to have, like, in ways like improved himself, vindicated himself. He does seem to be, doing and behaving in much better ways, and like that he's actually made progress on himself as a person. Like he isn't the same person he was before. I do believe that people can grow and change and learn too from their mistakes. And that's the thing with cancel culture. There's no redemption. There's no, it's, you do something that you shouldn't have done, and that's it. And that's a problem too, because, even with as horrendous a crime as these things are, like, people can still add value to society. They still can, change and improve and grow. So like, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings going on there. So I just think we have to like look at, well, what is just? What would we do in a just world and society? How would these things be handled? And like, how are we being careful to not let this just become a witch hunt? And I think that's what Me Too is kind of turned into. It's turned into a witch hunt, and it plays on the hysteria that a lot of women have, because so many women have experienced some sort of imposition of a sexual nature from a man in their life that there was no resolution to. And so they're going to identify anytime a woman comes forward and says something, women are going to be triggered by that. They're going to be like, oh, I have to, it happened with Julian Assange as well. Like, getting into that, like, I'll just say this, like, I have no doubts that the accusations against him were real as well. But what he's gone through as a result, like, does it match the level of person, and you have to understand, like, this wasn't about justice for women. This wasn't about justice for a crime this person committed. This was just about getting them. This was just about finding some way to get them and to silence them. And that's, where we have to like use our discretion and understand, like, these things are being leveraged against us and we're being manipulated. And if we haven't like bothered to do our own work of healing and understanding and not being triggered by whatever mechanism is in the mainstream that's trying to manipulate us into acting this way or that way to serve their agenda, well, we're just going to get caught up and swept up into like, we're losing. What we lose in that is our own personal authority. The society in general, like, and the media manipulation machine has no problem using whatever trauma trigger you've been through to manipulate you into serving their agenda. And that's what's dangerous about these things, and it's just unfortunate because this is a widespread problem in society. What are you to do? What is the sane person to do? The only thing a sane person can do is to go within. Me Too was taken over by the gender blue extremists. Yeah. Who cares whether he said I don't know. We're getting into this like they let you doesn't absolve him of responsibility. I don't know. Yeah. Again, like, and we're getting into again to the seduction of women as well. Like, a lot of women want to be like, when they're being seduced, want to be, touched. They want to be grabbed. Like, you don't want to just be sitting there and have the guy kind of be like, do I have your consent to do this? Like, it kind of takes something out of that equation. It was a conversation that, was gross and we probably shouldn't have been exposed to, and it was put out with an agenda. And, at the end of the day, it did not make the electorate still knew that he was a better choice than Hillary Clinton. So it went the way it did. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't even know if this really happened or if it was just a man boasting. That's the thing too. Men boast to other men about things, and I don't know who the woman in question is or women in question were. I don't know if anyone came forward saying he grabbed me by the pee. I don't know. I don't remember any women coming forward and being like, oh yeah, I'm one of the women he grabbed by the pee. And this is why I'm voting for Hillary 2016. But anyway, y'all, I've been on for an hour and a half. I think I want to wrap this up because it's kind of spiraled into some different conversations. And, while I appreciate that that's what's been evoked by this, I don't have it in me to keep going. I just wanted to come on and respond to those comments I got that, made me unhappy. So thank you for being here, watching and contributing. Shout out to all of you, and I'll be back another time to discuss other things. And, I don't want to be on here like criticizing feminism all the time, but I have to say, like, it does make people crazy. And, I posted something on my Instagram this morning about it. And I had another woman reach out to me like, I'm an ex-rad femme and it made me crazy. So I know we're out here, and my wish is that, we all not go crazy anymore, because it's not fun. It's not fun. But anyway, thanks for being here. I'll be back another time. All right. Bye, y'all.